Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat. If you're new here, I've been living in Chiang Mai since 2019, and on this channel, I share tips and recommendations for those who are also wanting to move their life abroad to Chiang Mai. So, in this video, I wanted to share the things that I wish I knew before moving to Chiang Mai, and specifically for the ladies out there who are watching this video, because I think from calls that I've had with people who are considering moving here and just in general, from my experience with traveling abroad and living abroad, I think there's a lot of questions that go unanswered, especially as a female solo traveler and as someone who moved here completely alone. And so I hope these tips help you if you're planning to move to Chiang Mai. And so I'll start by saying it is a lot safer than you think. Of course, that depends on which city and place you're living in, but in Chiang Mai specifically, I feel so much safer here compared to in the US. And that's not to say that it's perfect, it's not to say that things don't happen, but I definitely don't feel that stress of constantly having to look over my shoulder, especially as a female. Aside from the obvious of, not walking super late by yourself at night, but, I've had dinner downtown in Niman area, 9, 10, even 11 or 12, sometimes after dancing. And I feel perfectly fine walking to my car or walking to my grab. There has been multiple times when I used to drive a motorcycle and I would accidentally leave my key in the ignition. I came back and my keys were still there. And I know a lot of people have also experienced that. You leave your helmet or you leave something out. Even now, sometimes when I'm working at coffee shops, I'll leave my laptop or my purse. And I'm not saying to do it all the time and to not be aware, but at places where I feel comfortable and I know that there's people there that maybe I know or I've just been at that coffee shop before. There has been times where I'll go to the restroom and I'll come back and my stuff is there and it's fine. In the US, you would not dare to leave your laptop anywhere unattended. And I'm not saying it's perfect, there's things that still happen, but I would say generally, I feel much safer here than I have in the US as a female solo person living out here. The second thing I want to say is that I know a lot of people ask about what it's like to build a community in Chiang Mai, and as someone who's been here for 6 years, I will say it is hard. It's possible, but it's hard and it takes time. And you kind of have to get used to, letting go of friendships and rebuilding new ones. I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, I have some friends here that have been here 4 or 5 years, but I've also had some really close friends that were here for 1 or 2 years and then they moved on to somewhere else. And so I would definitely say it's possible, again, by joining groups. Maybe you like to dance, maybe you are interested in live music, or maybe you're into arts. There's a lot of different groups and communities that have events and workshops and stuff where you can meet people. There's digital nomad meetups, events. There's, remote worker type of workshops and things that are happening in the city. But again, you have to force yourself to go and attend those groups to kind of get outside of your comfort zone and meet people. And again, don't be surprised if people are leaving or maybe they're here for short periods of time. And like I said, I have friends who have been here for many years and some who haven't, but it's just part of the lifestyle living abroad, especially in Chiang Mai, a place that is very transient and people are constantly coming and going and passing through. And so I think that's really important, especially if you're living abroad and living on your own. You move here with no family, with no community. I think that piece is really important, but also very overlooked. And it's something, again, I've been here for so long and I still struggle with it. But I think there's also a positive side to it where you meet new people. Now I have friends from all over the world, different countries, and so if I travel to that country, I know someone that I can go visit and hang out with. So there are positives to it, but it's just the reality again of living in a place like Chiang Mai. The next thing I'll say that I also think is very overlooked is when you move to Chiang Mai, especially if you're wanting to live here long term, it's not a vacation. So I think it's really important to find a balanced routine because I've seen a lot of people that come here and just kind of get caught up in the, oh, it's Chiang Mai. I want to go travel and see all these places. And while that's an important part of adjusting to a place, by no means do I mean not travel and not explore, but I think having a balanced routine can really help you get settled and feel grounded in a place, especially if it's a place you want to call home long term. Again, I still go and explore, I travel, I do all of those things too. Especially when I first moved here, I think having a balanced routine really helped me kind of get accustomed to the lifestyle here and my work routine, especially maybe you have clients that are overseas or in different countries. I have clients in the US and the UK, so that was a part of it too. Just reminding yourself that it's not a vacation. I think there's this misconception because of what people see on social media that, I'm on vacation 24/7 on a beach in the mountains with elephants, doing all of those things. And that's not the reality most of the time. I have a very simple and normal life here. I go to a coffee shop to work, I go to the gym, meet friends for dinner. It's not always this highlight reel. And while that can be a part of it, as someone who, again, has been here for a long time, I think finding a balanced routine can really help you feel settled and get adjusted to life away from your family, life away from, your old routine and your old lifestyle. I think can really help. And so the last thing that I wanted to mention that might seem pretty obvious to some, but I think it's worth talking about is that missing home is normal. I think, again, we see the highlight reel on social media of what it's like to live abroad, but I think not a lot of people talk about the reality of being away from family and being away from friends. And not even that, maybe you're not close with your family, but just being away from the life that you used to have in the US or wherever you're based. I think that's a big part of adjusting to life abroad, especially if you're moving alone like I did. And I think the first 2 years, it was kind of up and down because I think I was just so excited of, getting adjusted to life in Chiang Mai, meeting new people, figuring out, the cafes and restaurants, like just my everyday things. But, those first holidays away from home, or maybe those whatever celebrations you feel like you're missing out on, that can be really difficult. And I don't think it ever really goes away. I think it's just part of the lifestyle and something a lot of us sacrifice in order to live a life like this, where I'm not obligated to, wake up and clock in at work. I mean, I have a job, I work online, but I have control over my time. I have control over when I work, how I work. And so that comes with the sacrifice of, being away from family or being away from home. And that's something that's important to you. There's things that you can do to kind of ease it a little bit, whether that's you go home more often for the holidays or phone calls to family, FaceTime. I'm FaceTiming my mom and my dad all the time. And I'm messaging friends back home to keep in touch because it can be, you can feel out of the loop sometimes. I feel like since I've moved abroad, I've kind of lost touch with a lot of friends back home. And not to say that anything happened, but it's just part of, I'm living a very different lifestyle, and we keep in touch, but that's kind of just the reality of it. Same with family. Like maybe your family can come here and visit. But yeah, I think it's just not talked about enough that it's normal to miss home. You can find your own quote unquote family away from home here, whether you have a community or a close knit group of friends that you spend time with. But yeah, it's the reality of living abroad. That's all I had for this video. I hope it was helpful. I think as a female solo traveler, as someone who has moved abroad completely on my own, and have been in Chiang Mai for 6 years, I hope that my experiences or these recommendations and tips that I give can help you kind of ease the stress or the anxiety about moving abroad, especially to a place like Chiang Mai. I think Chiang Mai is a really good place to do that because I think it gives you the space to figure things out, whether that's, you want to live here long term or you want to just kind of feel it out and see for yourself what life could be like here. I think, yeah, Chiang Mai is a really good place to do that. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any future videos. And thanks for watching.